Well, he hasn't found those figures out. He's making an extrapolation. The key thing is to know which ones those children are. Now, the reason we saw those tests brought in was we needed to know what children knew at the end of primary school, what they learned halfway through, what they learned when they arrived at primary school. An awful lot of the people who are backing your movement, including National Education Union and others, have always opposed testing for children. For some reason, finding out what children know and what teachers have taught them and how successful a school is for some reason bad for children. Now, how can you tell whether a child can read and write to the required level and has learnt something, that a teacher is any good, at a school is any good, if you don't test them? How are you going to find that out?
Tests are taken at school all the time, and informal assessments by teachers happen all the time. There are many, many other ways of creating a national system that measures the performance of schools without placing that burden on the shoulders of every single child in this country.
And what do you mean a burden?
The burden is that these tests are extremely high pressure. They're taken under exam conditions. We already know that mental health, everyone agrees that mental health and well-being should be a priority during recovery. So why rush back into a system which is all about cramming for tests under exam conditions?
No.
And by the way, it's not just the National Education Union, it is also the Head Teachers Union and ASCL, the Secondary Head Teachers Union, who are saying now is absolutely the right time for a complete rethink of primary assessment, because the system does not serve its purpose. It is broken.
Well, to the extent that the system doesn't serve its purpose, it's because of teachers and head teachers putting pressure on children. You say exam conditions. I mean, my child did SAT and actually wasn't even aware until afterwards that one of these that there had been a test, because the teachers don't put pressure on the pupils. They give them work like they normally do, but they say, oh, we're going to do this, quietly, or we're going to this, and the kids get on with it. It is the teachers and the head teachers putting pressure on. The cramming is happening because they've not taught the subject matter already. We need children to know certain stuff. We need them to know how to learn. We need them to know some basic facts, to know how to read, to write, and to add up. Why are so many people like you? And this is long before. I'll be really surprised if 10 years ago you weren't also campaigning against this.
I was campaigning against it once I realised some of the absolute claptrap my daughters were being taught.
then you need to complain to the school and get them to teach better. But that's not an argument for not testing.
They went to a fantastic school.
But they were taught claptrap.
There's a lot of claptrap in the national curriculum that is purely
there. What's claptrap in the national curriculum, out of interest?
Could you just give me a quick example of a sentence with a subjunctive clause in it? And could you then follow that up with a fronted adverbial, Julia? Because at age 7, that's what you're expected to do these days.
And if you'd been taught what that is, then you'd probably have a better chance of doing it.
Why does a 7-year-old need to know what a fronted adverbial is? Come on, it's only there so that children can be tested, because to reduce a language like English to a testable entity, you need to know about digraphs and diphthongs for phonics, and you need to know about subjunctive clauses so that grammar can be tested. That is not what parents want their children to be learning. And spending time...
I want my child to understand English grammar. I wish my comprehensive had taught some decent English grammar. It would have been really useful to me.
There is nothing wrong with English grammar going down into the minutiae age 7, just so that you can be tested on it in a way that a particular schools minister thinks is the right way, is not delivering a high quality education.
Look, I think most people listening to you right now would agree that was that. And again, I know that's come up in previous conversations on this. Would agree on that. And that's a question around tinkering around what the actual subject matter in the curriculum is and what the testing is. In principle, though, in all practical ways, I believe that we need to test what children know, and we need to test what teachers are teaching. And I'm not entirely convinced that parents necessarily always know what children should know at different ages and know how good their school is. Most people think their school is really good. Not all school is good.
Yeah, but spending time cramming for tests on very narrow aspects.
They shouldn't be cramming. No one should be cramming for these tests.
Spending time even learning stuff that is about being able to pass very, very narrow aspects of English and maths, and to pass tests which are just used to collect data, which are just used to measure schools, does not serve children.
But you don't think it's a good idea that parents can choose whether or not a school is any good, and that parents have an idea of whether their child's school, which they think is fabulous, is actually up to standard and is meeting a national average?
Julia, parents don't care about SATs. Only 15% say they should be part of recovery. And do you know where SATs come in the list of things parents think schools should be measured on and what they indeed take into account when they're choosing schools for their children? It comes bottom of a list of 12 things. Parents do not care about SATs. That is the great big myth that we really need to bust here.
All right. Alison Ali, really good to talk to you. She's a parent spokeswoman for More Than a Score. It's coming up to 8 o'clock.